Nathan Keene's hands moved with practiced precision as he fixed the broken stair, each nail driven home with controlled force. The wood groaned under his weight as he tested the repair, but it held firm. Above him, Tasha's laughter echoed through the house, high and musical, the kind that made strangers stop and smile on the street. "Oh my God, you're so bad," she giggled into her phone, her voice carrying down the hallway. "No, he's downstairs playing handyman again. He won't bother us." Nathan's hammer paused mid-swing. The words hit him like a physical blow, but his face remained impassive. He'd learned long ago to keep his emotions locked away, buried beneath layers of quiet competence that everyone mistook for weakness. The conversation continued above, muffled but unmistakable in its closeness. Nathan set down his tools and walked to the guest bathroom, needing a moment to collect himself. That's when he saw it, a small air freshener hanging from the towel rack. Vanilla and sandalwood. He'd never bought it. Tasha hated vanilla. His phone buzzed, a text from his sister Marla. "Dinner Sunday? You look like hell in your wife's latest post." Nathan hadn't seen Tasha's latest post. He rarely looked at her Instagram anymore, tired of watching her perform their marriage for strangers. But curiosity got the better of him. He opened the app and found a photo of their kitchen, artfully arranged with expensive coffee and fresh flowers. The caption read, "Grateful for this beautiful life and the space to grow into who I'm meant to be." Sometimes the universe asks us to expand beyond conventional love. #authentic living, #open heart, #growth mindset. The comments were full of heart emojis and supportive messages from her followers. "You're so brave, living your truth, inspiring as always." Nathan remembered the therapy session 6 months ago when she'd first brought up the open marriage idea. Dr. Patterson had looked uncomfortable as Tasha explained her need for emotional and physical expansion. Nathan had sat there, quiet as always, processing the way his wife's eyes lit up when she talked about freedom and growth and all the things their marriage apparently couldn't provide. "What do you think, Nathan?" Dr. Patterson had asked. "If it makes her happy," he'd said simply. He'd meant it then. Tasha's happiness had always been his priority, even when it came at the cost of his own. He'd watched her Instagram following grow from hundreds to hundreds of thousands, seen her transform from the shy photography student he'd married into a confident influencer who preached about healing and authentic love. He'd supported her through every reinvention, every new philosophy, every course she took to better herself. But hearing her dismiss him as a handyman who wouldn't bother them felt different. It felt like betrayal. Nathan finished the stair repair in silence, then headed to his workshop in the garage. The space was his sanctuary, filled with tools and half-finished projects that made sense in ways his marriage no longer did. He'd built most of the furniture in their house with these hands, had renovated the kitchen and bathroom that featured so prominently in Tasha's posts. His phone buzzed again. This time it was a notification from their shared iCloud account. A voice memo had been uploaded automatically. Nathan frowned. He'd disabled that feature months ago, but tech glitches happened. He almost deleted it without listening. Almost. Instead, he plugged in his headphones and hit play. Tasha's voice filled his ears, crystal clear and devastating. "I swear, Logan, sometimes I feel like I'm living with a ghost. He just exists, goes to work, comes home, fixes things. It's like being married to a maintenance worker who happens to share my bed." Another voice, deeper, masculine. "Why don't you just leave him and give up this house, this life? He's like a Zexless paycheck with benefits. Besides, he's too passive to ever fight back. I could probably bring you home for dinner and he'd offer to cook." Their laughter was sharp and cruel, cutting through Nathan like broken glass. "Camden thinks I'm being too harsh," Tasha continued, "but Camden doesn't understand. He's never been married to someone so beige, so vanilla, no passion, no fire. Nathan would rather fix a broken faucet than fix our marriage." Nathan's hands trembled as he pulled off the headphones. Camden, his best friend since college, the guy who'd been his best man, who came over for barbecues and football games. And Camden knew about Logan. The phone slipped from his fingers and shattered against the concrete floor, plastic and glass scattering like his carefully maintained composure. For the first time in years, Nathan felt something crack inside him. Not breaking, but shifting, like tectonic plates finding a new position. He swept up the pieces methodically, each shard a small reminder of what he'd just learned. When he finished, he called his sister. "Marla? Yeah, about Sunday dinner." Can we make it just us? I need to ask you something. Everything okay? You sound weird. Do you still have that drone? The one you used for your real estate photos? There was a pause. Nathan? What's going on? I'll explain Sunday. And, Marla, do you still have those connections from your PI days? Jesus, Nathan, what did she do? He couldn't answer that. Not yet. Not until he knew the full scope of what his wife had done to their marriage, their life, their trust. But for the first time in months, Nathan felt something that had been missing. Purpose. I'll see you Sunday, he said, and hung up. That night, Nathan lay in bed listening to Tasha's breathing beside him. She'd come home late, smelling like expensive perfume and sweat, and crawled into bed without explanation. Her phone buzzed constantly with messages she answered with secretive smiles. Good day? He asked quietly. Productive. Had a session with my life coach, then met Camden for coffee. He's going through a rough patch with work. The lie came so easily, so naturally, that Nathan almost admired her skill. Almost. That's good of you to support him, he said. We support each other. That's what friends do. Nathan stared at the ceiling, processing the casual way she'd weaponized their friendship. Camden had been there for Nathan's father's funeral, had helped him through his darkest moments. The betrayal felt personal in a way that even Tasha's infidelity couldn't match. Nathan? Tasha's voice was soft in the darkness. Are you happy? The question caught him off guard. What do you mean? I mean happy, fulfilled. Like you're living the life you want to live? I have everything I need, he said carefully. That's not the same thing. She was right. It wasn't. But Nathan had learned long ago that need and want were different things, and that survival often meant choosing the former over the latter. Are you happy? He asked. I'm getting there. I'm learning to be honest about what I want, even when it's complicated. Nathan closed his eyes. That's good. Honesty is important. Yes, she whispered. It is. The next morning, Nathan woke to find Tasha already gone, her side of the bed cold. A note on the kitchen counter explained she'd gone to an early yoga class, then had meetings all day. She'd be home late. Nathan made coffee and sat at their kitchen table, the same table that had appeared in dozens of her posts about grateful living and authentic relationships. He opened his laptop and began researching. Logan Rusk. Mixed martial arts trainer at Elite Combat Sports. Former Marine, according to his bio. Specialized in functional fitness for real-world applications. His Instagram was full of shirtless photos and motivational quotes about pushing through pain. Nathan studied the man's face, sharp jawline, confident smirk, the kind of aggressive masculinity that drew attention. He could see the appeal, could understand why Tasha would be attracted to someone so different from her quiet, steady husband. Camden Ray was easier to research. Nathan knew most of his story already. Law degree from UW, junior partner at a mid-tier firm, recently divorced, living in a downtown condo that cost more than most people's houses. What Nathan didn't know was that Camden had been posting photos from restaurants and bars that matched Tasha's locations, often on the same days she claimed to be in meetings or classes. The pattern was clear once Nathan started looking for it. Coffee dates that aligned with Camden's lunch breaks, evening yoga classes that ended when Logan's gym closed, weekend wellness retreats that coincided with Camden's business trips. Nathan's phone rang. Work. He'd been the construction supervisor on a major renovation project for the past 8 months, the kind of job that required his constant attention and problem-solving skills. Skills that apparently made him good at his job, but boring as a husband. Nathan? We've got a problem with the electrical on the 3rd floor. Can you get down here? On my way, he said, closing the laptop. At the job site, Nathan lost himself in the familiar rhythm of solving problems. A faulty junction box, incorrect wiring, a subcontractor who'd cut corners. He identified the issues, coordinated the fixes, and supervised the repairs with the same methodical precision he brought to everything else. You're a miracle worker, said Jake, the project manager. I swear you could fix anything. Most things, Nathan corrected, not everything. That evening, Nathan drove to Elite Combat Sports. The gym was in a converted warehouse, all exposed brick and industrial lighting. Through the windows, he could see people sparring, hitting heavy bags, pushing their bodies to their limits. He sat in his truck for 20 minutes, watching Logan train clients. The man moved with fluid confidence, demonstrating techniques with casual competence. Nathan could see why Tasha was attracted to him. Logan represented everything Nathan wasn't. Loud where Nathan was quiet, aggressive where Nathan was passive, demanding where Nathan was accommodating. Nathan's phone buzzed. A text from Tasha. "Working late again. Don't wait up." It was 6 p.m. The gym closed at 9. Nathan started his truck and drove home. He had planning to do. Sunday dinner with Marla was held at her apartment, a sleek, modern space that reflected her personality. Efficient, no nonsense, slightly intimidating. She'd left the private investigation business 5 years ago to focus on real estate, but she still carried herself like someone who'd spent years uncovering other people's secrets. "So," she said, pouring wine, "what's this about?" Nathan told her everything. The voice recording, the research, the pattern of lies. Marla listened without interrupting, her expression growing harder with each detail. "That witch," she said finally. "In Camden? Nathan, I never liked that guy. Too smooth, too eager to please." "But I thought he was loyal to you." "Apparently not." "What do you want to do about it?" Nathan had been thinking about that question for 3 days. "I want to know everything. How long it's been going on, who else knows, what they're saying about me. And then? Then I want them to understand what they've done. I want consequences." Marla studied her brother's face. "This isn't like you, Nathan. You're not the revenge type." "Maybe I should be. This could get messy, ugly. Are you prepared for that?" Nathan thought about the voice recording, about Tasha's casual cruelty, about Camden's betrayal. They made it ugly first. "I'm just leveling the playing field." Marla nodded slowly. "Okay. But we do this smart. No violence, no illegal stuff. We expose them, humiliate them, make them face consequences. But we don't give them ammunition to use against you." "Agreed. I still have the drone, and I've got a guy who can help with surveillance equipment. But Nathan, once we start this, there's no going back. Your marriage is over. You know that, right?" Nathan looked out the window at the city lights below. "My marriage was already over. I just didn't know it yet." The next week, Nathan began his transformation. He joined a gym, not Logan's, but a hardcore boxing place in Georgetown that catered to serious fighters. He'd been athletic in college, had even done some amateur boxing, but years of marriage and comfortable living had softened him. The gym was brutal, old school, no Instagram fitness influencers or casual workout enthusiasts, just fighters, many of them with backgrounds similar to Nathan's, working-class guys who'd learned to fight because life had required it. Nathan threw himself into training with the same methodical intensity he brought to construction work. He arrived early, stayed late, absorbed punishment and lessons with equal focus. His body remembered the movements, the rhythm, the sweet science of applied violence. "You've got hands," said Tommy, the gym's owner and Nathan's trainer. "What's your story?" "Getting back into shape," Nathan said, working the heavy bag until his knuckles bled through the tape. "Uh-huh. And the real reason?" Nathan paused, considering. "Someone needs to learn that quiet doesn't mean weak." Tommy grinned. "Now we're talking." At home, Nathan maintained his usual routine. He fixed things, cooked dinner, made pleasant conversation about Tasha's increasingly busy schedule. But now he paid attention to details he'd previously ignored. The way she guarded her phone, the new clothes that appeared in her closet, the expensive perfume she wore to business meetings. He also began his surveillance. Marla's drone was small and nearly silent, perfect for following Tasha's car from a distance. The surveillance equipment, tiny cameras, audio recorders, GPS trackers, came from her contact in the private security business. "This is top-shelf stuff," Marla warned. "Don't get caught with it." "I won't." "And Nathan, document everything. Dates, times, locations. If this goes legal, we need proof." Nathan didn't plan on going legal. He had other ideas. The first breakthrough came 2 weeks later. Nathan had been tracking Tasha's movements for days, noting patterns and inconsistencies. On Wednesday afternoon, she claimed to have a brand partnership meeting downtown. Instead, she drove to a hotel in Bellevue. Nathan positioned himself across the street with a telephoto lens, feeling like a private investigator in a bad movie. He didn't have to wait long. Tasha emerged from the lobby 20 minutes later, followed by Logan. They walked to separate cars, but not before Logan grabbed her hand and pulled her in for a kiss. Nathan photographed the entire interaction, his camera capturing the easy closeness between them. But he wasn't prepared for what happened next. Camden Ray emerged from the hotel 15 minutes later, adjusting his tie and checking his phone. He looked around nervously, then headed for his BMW. Nathan sat in his truck, processing what he'd just witnessed. It wasn't just an affair, it was a ménage à trois. His wife, his best friend, and her trainer had been meeting at hotels, while Nathan worked to pay for the lifestyle they were all enjoying. The rage that hit him was physical, a red wave that made his vision blur and his hands shake. For a moment, he understood why people committed crimes of passion. The urge to confront them, to hurt them, was overwhelming. Instead, he drove home and went to his workshop. He needed to think, to plan, to channel his anger into something productive. That night, Tasha came home glowing with post-workout energy. She kissed his cheek and asked about his day, her performance of loving wife so practiced it might have been sincere. "How was your meeting?" Nathan asked. "Productive. Really productive. We're talking about a major collaboration." "That's great." "With who?" "A wellness brand. Very exclusive. They're looking for authentic voices in the space." Nathan nodded, filing away another lie. "Camden called earlier. Said he missed you at coffee today." Tasha's smile faltered for just a moment. "We rescheduled. He's been busy with work." "Must be nice to have such flexible schedules." "What do you mean?" "Nothing, just that you both seem to have a lot of freedom in your days." Tasha studied his face, looking for hidden meaning. "Nathan, is everything okay? You seem different lately." "Different how?" "I don't know. More present, I guess. Like you're actually paying attention." Nathan smiled. "Maybe I am." That weekend, Nathan made his first move. He created a fake social media profile. Generic photos, minimal information, carefully crafted to blend in with the fitness crowd. Then he started following Logan's gym, liking posts, building a digital presence. On Monday, he walked into Elite Combat Sports and signed up for a membership. "First time?" asked the receptionist, a young woman with multiple piercings and a bored expression. "Yeah. I heard good things about the training here. Logan's our best trainer, very popular, but he's pretty selective about new clients." "I'm sure he is." Nathan spent an hour exploring the gym, noting the layout, the equipment, the other members. Logan was there, training a client through a brutal circuit workout. Nathan watched from a distance, studying the man's movements, his personality, his interactions with others. Logan was exactly what he'd expected. Loud, confident, physically imposing. The kind of guy who'd never been overlooked or underestimated. The kind of guy who'd see a quiet construction worker and dismiss him as irrelevant. Nathan was counting on that assumption. Over the next week, Nathan established himself as a regular at the gym. He came in during off-peak hours, worked out methodically, and gradually began interacting with other members. He was friendly but not memorable, competent but not impressive. When Logan finally approached him, Nathan was ready. "Haven't seen you around before," Logan said, his voice carrying the casual authority of someone used to being the alpha in any room. "Just started coming here," Nathan replied, focusing on his form as he worked through a set of deadlifts. "Nathan, right? I'm Logan. I run the place." "Good to meet you." Logan watched Nathan's technique with a critical eye. "You've got decent form. Trained somewhere else before?" "College. Long time ago." "What do you do for work?" "Construction." "Project management." Nathan could see Logan filing away the information, categorizing him as blue-collar, probably divorced, looking to get back in shape. Not a threat, not competition, just another middle-aged guy trying to recapture his youth. "You interested in some real training? One-on-one stuff?" "Maybe. What's your rate?" "For you? Let's call it $100 an hour. I like working with guys who take it seriously." Nathan nodded. "When can we start?" Logan's smile was carnivory. "How about Thursday? We'll see what you're really made of." That night, Nathan lay in bed listening to Tasha's breathing and planning his next move. She'd been distant lately, distracted, always checking her phone. Their conversations had become even more superficial, if that was possible. He thought about the Nathan she'd married, quiet, steady, content to fade into the background while she shined. That Nathan would have accepted the betrayal, would have tried to save the marriage, would have sacrificed his own dignity for the sake of keeping the peace. But that Nathan was gone, replaced by someone harder, more focused, more dangerous. Someone who'd learned that being underestimated was an advantage, not a weakness. Thursday came quickly. Nathan arrived at the gym wearing old workout clothes and his most passive expression. Logan was waiting, surrounded by his usual audience of admirers and clients. "Ready for a real workout?" Logan asked, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Sure," Nathan said quietly. Logan led him through a series of exercises designed to test limits and expose weaknesses. Nathan performed competently, but not impressively, staying just below the level that would mark him as a threat. "Not bad," Logan said, breathing hard after demonstrating a complex combination. "You've got some natural ability. Could use some work on aggression, though." "I'm not really an aggressive person," Nathan said. "That's your problem right there. In the ring, nice guys finish on their backs. You need to find your killer instinct." Nathan nodded thoughtfully. "Maybe you're right." "I know I'm right. How about we do some sparring next week? Really see what you're made of?" "I don't know. I'm not really looking for a fight." "That's exactly why you need one. Trust me, I've been doing this for 15 years. I can spot a guy who's got potential, but needs to dig deeper." Nathan let Logan talk him into it, playing the reluctant student perfectly. Around them, other gym members watched with interest. Logan clearly enjoyed having an audience for his dominance displays. "Thursday then," Logan said. "We'll go light, just technical stuff. Nothing too rough." Nathan smiled. "Whatever you think is best." After the session, Nathan drove home and found Tasha in the kitchen, preparing what looked like a very expensive meal. She was wearing a dress he'd never seen before, and her makeup was done with unusual care. "Special occasion?" he asked. "Camden's coming over for dinner. He's been having a hard time since his divorce, and I thought he could use some support." Nathan felt that familiar surge of rage, but kept his expression neutral. "That's thoughtful of you. I made reservations for you at Murphy's. You love their steaks." Nathan recognized the maneuver. Get him out of the house so she could entertain her other lover. He wondered if Logan would be joining them later, or if tonight was Camden's turn. "Actually, I think I'll skip dinner out. I'm pretty tired from my workout." Tasha's smile tightened slightly. "I really think you should go. You've been working so hard lately, you deserve a nice meal." "I'm good. I'll probably just order pizza and watch the game." "Nathan, please. I already made the reservation." The desperation in her voice was subtle but unmistakable. Nathan let the silence stretch for a moment before relenting. "Okay, what time?" "7. The reservation's under your name." Nathan nodded and headed upstairs, ostensibly to shower and change. Instead, he set up one of Marla's micro cameras in the living room, positioned to capture the couch where he suspected the evening's activities would take place. At Murphy's, Nathan ordered a steak and a beer, then spent the next 2 hours watching the game on the bar's TV. He made small talk with other customers, establishing an alibi and a normal demeanor. Just a regular guy having a regular dinner at a regular restaurant. He paid his bill at 9:30 and drove home slowly, giving Tasha and Camden time to finish whatever they were doing. The house was quiet when he arrived, Camden's car nowhere to be seen. "How was dinner?" Tasha asked when he came upstairs. She was in bed, reading, looking perfectly innocent. "Good. How was your evening with Camden?" "Nice. He's really struggling with the divorce. I think it helped to have someone to talk to." Nathan nodded and went to brush his teeth. In the bathroom mirror, he caught sight of his reflection and was surprised by what he saw. The weeks of training had changed him. His face was leaner, his shoulders broader, his eyes harder. He looked like a different person. He looked dangerous. The next morning, Nathan retrieved the camera and reviewed the footage. What he saw confirmed his worst suspicions and provided material for his growing archive of evidence. Camden and Tasha had been intimate on Nathan's couch, in Nathan's house, while Nathan ate dinner alone across town. But more than that, their conversation afterward revealed the depth of their betrayal. They talked about Nathan with casual contempt, discussing his lack of awareness, his boring nature, his usefulness as a financial provider. Camden made jokes about Nathan's construction work, calling him Bob the Builder, and wondering how long it would take for him to figure out what was happening. "He's too passive," Tasha said. "He'd rather fix a broken pipe than fight for his marriage." "What if he does figure it out?" Camden asked. "Then we'll deal with it. But honestly, I don't think he's got the balls to confront anyone. He'll just suffer in silence and blame himself." Nathan watched his wife and best friend laugh at his expense and felt something cold and final settle in his chest. They'd made their choice. Now he would make his. Thursday arrived with Seattle's typical gray drizzle. Nathan spent the morning at the job site, coordinating with subcontractors and solving problems with his usual methodical efficiency. But his mind was elsewhere, focused on the evening ahead. At Elite Combat Sports, Logan was waiting with his usual crowd of admirers. Several other members had heard about the sparring session and stuck around to watch. Nathan played his part perfectly, nervous, reluctant, out of his depth. "You sure about this?" Logan asked, adjusting his hand wraps with practiced ease. "Yeah, you said I needed to find my killer instinct." "That's right. But don't worry, we'll take it easy. Just some light technical work." Nathan nodded, wrapping his hands with deliberate care. Tommy had taught him that preparation was everything in fighting, physical, mental, and emotional. Nathan had been preparing for this moment for weeks. They touched gloves in the center of the ring, Logan's smile confident and patronizing. The small crowd pressed closer, phones out, ready to capture whatever happened next. Logan came forward with lazy confidence, throwing jabs that were more about establishing dominance than inflicting damage. Nathan moved defensively, covering up, backing away, playing the part of the overwhelmed amateur. "Come on, Nathan," Logan called out. "You can't win a fight going backward." Nathan circled, looking for openings, letting Logan build confidence. The bigger man pressed forward, throwing combinations that Nathan either blocked or slipped. To the watching crowd, it looked like a mismatch, the experienced trainer toying with the nervous construction worker. Logan got careless, dropping his guard after a particularly flashy combination. Nathan stepped in with a short, sharp uppercut that caught Logan on the chin. The trainer stumbled backward, more surprised than hurt. "There you go," Logan said, shaking his head. "That's what I'm talking about." "But you telegraphed it from across the ring." Nathan nodded as if accepting the criticism. Logan came forward again, this time with more aggression. He threw a right cross that Nathan slipped, then grabbed Nathan in a clinch, trying to muscle him around the ring. This was what Nathan had been waiting for. In the close quarters of the clinch, technique mattered more than size or strength. Nathan hooked Logan's leg and swept him off balance, then drove a knee into his ribs as they separated. Logan's expression changed. The casual confidence was gone, replaced by wariness and a growing respect for Nathan's abilities. "Okay," Logan said, breathing harder. "You've got some moves. Let's see what else you've got." They engaged again, this time with Logan taking Nathan seriously. But Nathan had been training for this moment, had been visualizing it, preparing for it. Every punch Logan threw, Nathan had an answer for. Every combination, every feint, every attempt at dominance was met with calm, technical precision. The crowd grew quieter as they realized they weren't watching a casual sparring session between trainer and student. They were watching a fight, and the outcome was far from certain. Logan threw a wild haymaker, overcommitted and off balance. Nathan ducked under it and came up with a devastating combination. Body shot, head shot, another body shot. Logan doubled over, gasping, his face flushed with pain and embarrassment. "You okay?" Nathan asked, his voice calm and controlled. Logan straightened up, his confidence shattered. Yeah, I'm good." But he wasn't good. Nathan could see it in his eyes, the realization that he'd been completely outclassed by someone he'd dismissed as harmless. The crowd sensed it too, their energy shifting from excitement to uncomfortable silence. "Want to keep going?" Nathan asked. Logan hesitated, then shook his head. "Nah, I think that's enough for today." "Good work." They touched gloves again, but Logan couldn't meet Nathan's eyes. The trainer, who'd been so confident minutes earlier, now looked defeated, humiliated in front of his own students. Nathan unwrapped his hands slowly, aware that everyone was watching him with new respect and wariness. He'd revealed himself, shown them what he was capable of when pushed. The quiet construction worker was gone, replaced by someone they didn't recognize. "Where'd you learn to fight like that?" asked one of the other members. "Here and there," Nathan said quietly. "Logan's a good teacher?" Logan forced a smile, but Nathan could see the anger and humiliation burning behind his eyes. This wasn't over. Men like Logan didn't handle public embarrassment well. Nathan gathered his gear and headed for the door. As he reached it, he turned back to Logan. "Thanks for the session. Same time next week?" Logan's jaw tightened. "Sure, same time." Nathan nodded and left, knowing that he'd accomplished exactly what he'd set out to do. Logan's image as the unbeatable alpha had been shattered in front of his own students. The man who'd been sleeping with Nathan's wife now knew that Nathan was capable of violence, of dominance, of taking what he wanted. More importantly, word would spread. In a gym like Elite Combat Sports, news of the sparring session would be all over social media within hours. People would talk, would speculate, would wonder who Nathan Keene really was. That night, Nathan came home to find Tasha in the kitchen, agitated and pacing. She looked up when he entered, her expression a mixture of anger and confusion. "What did you do?" she demanded. "What do you mean?" "Logan called me. He said you embarrassed him at the gym today. Said you're not who you pretend to be." Nathan set down his gym bag and looked at his wife. "I sparred with him. He suggested it. He said you hurt him, that you were different. Aggressive. He wanted me to find my killer instinct. I found it." Tasha stared at him, seeing something in his face she'd never seen before. "Nathan, what's going on with you? You've been acting strange for weeks." "Have I? I thought I was just getting back into shape." "This isn't about getting in shape. This is about... I don't know what this is about." Nathan moved closer, and Tasha took an involuntary step backward. "Maybe it's about finally paying attention. You said I wasn't present enough, remember? That I was like a ghost in my own life. That's not what I meant, isn't it? You said I needed to engage more, to take charge, to show some passion. Well, here I am." Tasha's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then back at Nathan. "I think we need to talk. Really talk." "I agree, but not tonight. Tonight I'm tired from my workout." Nathan headed upstairs, leaving Tasha standing in the kitchen with her phone and her confusion. He could feel her watching him, trying to reconcile the passive husband she'd married with the man who'd just dominated her lover in front of witnesses. In his workshop that night, Nathan reviewed the footage from the previous evening's dinner with Camden. Then he opened his laptop and began working on his next phase of the plan. Tasha's Instagram presence was built on authenticity and vulnerability. She shared details about her life, her struggles, her journey toward enlightenment and self-discovery. Her followers loved her for her honesty, her willingness to be real in a world of filtered perfection. Nathan was going to use that authenticity against her. He created a series of anonymous accounts across different platforms, each with a slightly different focus, but all centered around exposing the truth behind wellness influencers. The accounts were subtle, professional, focused on media literacy and authentic representation in the wellness space. Then he began posting content. Not about Tasha specifically, but about the broader phenomenon of influencers who preached one thing while living another. He shared articles about the psychology of social media, the dangers of parasocial relationships, the way authentic personalities could be manufactured and monetized. His posts were thoughtful, well-researched, and gradually began attracting followers who were interested in the deeper questions about influence and authenticity in the digital age. Nathan was playing a long game. He was building credibility, establishing himself as a thoughtful critic of influencer culture. When the time came to expose Tasha specifically, he would have a platform and an audience ready to listen. But first, he had more intelligence to gather. The next week brought new revelations. Nathan's surveillance had expanded to include Camden's apartment building, where he'd installed cameras in the parking garage and lobby. The footage showed a pattern of meetings between Tasha and Camden that went back months, long before she'd proposed the open marriage. Nathan realized that the therapy session hadn't been about exploring new relationship dynamics. It had been about getting his permission for something that was already happening. The depth of the betrayal was staggering. Not just the infidelity, but the calculated manipulation, the way they'd used his trust and passivity against him. They'd turned his best qualities, his loyalty, his desire to support Tasha's happiness, into weapons. Nathan's anger had evolved beyond rage into something colder and more focused. He wanted them to understand what they'd done, to feel the consequences of their choices. But more than that, he wanted them to know that they'd underestimated him, that the quiet man they'd dismissed was capable of destroying everything they'd built. The opportunity came sooner than expected. Camden was hosting a party at his apartment, a networking event for young professionals in the legal and marketing industries. Tasha had been invited, naturally. She told Nathan it was a business function, an opportunity to connect with potential brand partners. Nathan knew better. He'd seen the guest list, had recognized several of the names from Tasha's social media interactions. This wasn't a business function. It was a social event where Tasha could play the role of the sophisticated influencer, while Camden played the successful attorney. Nathan waited until the party was in full swing, then made his move. He'd prepared carefully, studying the building's layout, identifying entry points and exit routes. Camden's apartment was on the 20th floor, with floor-to-ceiling windows and a balcony that offered spectacular views of the city. Nathan didn't plan to confront anyone directly. Instead, he wanted to gather intelligence, to document the web of relationships and lies that surrounded his wife's double life. Using his construction industry contacts, Nathan had acquired a service uniform and clipboard, the universal camouflage that made working-class people invisible to wealthy professionals. He entered Camden's building through the service entrance, nodded to security, and took the elevator to the 20th floor. The party was exactly what he'd expected. Young professionals networking aggressively while consuming expensive wine and artisanal appetizers. Nathan positioned himself in the hallway outside Camden's apartment, ostensibly checking electrical panels while actually monitoring the guest list and recording conversations. He saw Tasha arrive fashionably late, wearing a dress that cost more than most people's monthly salary. She moved through the crowd with practiced grace, accepting compliments and making connections. To the casual observer, she was simply a successful influencer expanding her professional network. But Nathan noticed things others missed. The way she touched Camden's arm when she thought no one was looking. The subtle signals between them, the shared glances, the coordinated movements that spoke of intimate familiarity. Then Logan arrived. Nathan watched through a crack in the door as the MMA trainer entered Camden's apartment like he owned it. Logan's presence changed the dynamic immediately. He was clearly comfortable in this environment, knew many of the guests, moved through the crowd with the same confidence he displayed at the gym. What Nathan witnessed next confirmed his worst suspicions. This wasn't a casual affair or even a simple love triangle. Tasha, Camden, and Logan were operating as a unit, supporting each other's careers and social ambitions while using Nathan's financial stability as their foundation. Nathan recorded everything. Conversations about upcoming brand deals that Camden was negotiating for Tasha. Discussions about Logan's plans to open a second gym location with Camden's legal guidance. Casual mentions of weekend trips and shared vacations that Nathan had never heard about. But the moment that crystallized everything came when Nathan overheard Tasha talking to a potential brand partner, a wealthy widow who'd inherited a wellness company. "My husband is wonderful," Tasha said, her voice carrying the practiced sincerity that had made her Instagram famous. "He's so supportive of my journey, so understanding about my need for growth and exploration." Not every man would be secure enough to support his wife's authentic path. The woman nodded approvingly. "That's beautiful. Secure masculinity is so rare these days." Nathan understands that love isn't about possession. It's about giving your partner space to become who they're meant to be. Nathan felt something die inside him as he listened to his wife use their marriage as a marketing tool, turning his pain into profit. She was selling their story to strangers, packaging his humiliation as enlightened relationship goals. The woman leaned closer, intrigued. "Have you considered writing a book about non-traditional relationships and authentic love? I think there would be a real market for that perspective." "Actually," Tasha said, her eyes lighting up, "I've been working on a proposal about breaking free from conventional marriage structures and finding true closeness." Nathan realized that his marriage wasn't just over, it was being monetized. Tasha planned to build her brand on the story of their open relationship, to profit from the narrative of the enlightened wife and the supportive husband who understood that love meant letting go. He left the building quietly, his mind racing with possibilities. Tasha wanted to sell their story. Nathan would give her a story to sell. Over the next 2 weeks, Nathan accelerated his preparations. His anonymous social media accounts gained followers and credibility as he posted increasingly sophisticated content about influencer culture and authentic representation. He connected with journalists who covered the wellness industry, researchers who studied social media psychology, and former influencers who'd experienced public scandals. Nathan was building a network, creating relationships with people who would be interested in the story he was planning to tell. Meanwhile, his physical transformation continued. The weeks of training had carved away the softness of comfortable marriage, revealing the fighter he'd been in college. Nathan looked at himself in the mirror and saw a stranger, someone harder, more focused, more dangerous than the man Tasha had married. The change wasn't just physical. Nathan's confidence had shifted. His presence in rooms had weight it hadn't possessed before. People noticed him now, deferred to him, treated him like someone who mattered. At work, his crews responded to his authority with new respect. At the gym, other fighters sought his advice and approval. Even strangers seemed to sense that he wasn't someone to dismiss or underestimate, but Tasha remained oblivious to the transformation happening under her nose. She was too focused on her own projects, too absorbed in her double life to notice that her husband was becoming someone else entirely. The breaking point came on a Thursday evening in late October. Nathan arrived home from the gym to find Tasha in their bedroom, packing a suitcase with clothes he'd never seen before. "Going somewhere?" he asked. "Wellness retreat," she said without looking up. 3 days in the San Juans. "Digital detox, meditation, that kind of thing." Nathan nodded, recognizing the lie immediately. Camden had posted photos from the San Juan Islands on his Instagram the previous weekend, scouting locations for what he'd called a private getaway. "Sounds restful," Nathan said. "Who's organizing it?" "A new client, very exclusive. They want me to document the experience for their brand launch." "What brand?" Tasha hesitated, caught off guard by Nathan's sudden interest in her work. They're still in stealth mode. I can't really discuss details." Nathan watched his wife pack expensive lingerie and designer clothes for her digital detox and felt the last of his attachment to their marriage dissolve. "I'll miss you," he said. Tasha looked up, surprised by the sentiment. "Will you?" "Of course. You're my wife." Something flickered across her face, guilt maybe, or confusion. For a moment, Nathan thought she might tell him the truth, might give them a chance to end this honestly. Instead, she smiled and kissed his cheek. "You're sweet. I'll bring you back something nice." That night, Nathan sat in his workshop and finalized his plans. Tasha wanted to play games? He would show her what a real game looked like. He'd tracked the retreat's real location, a private cabin on Orcas Island that Camden had rented for the weekend. Logan would be there too, along with whatever other members of their social circle had been invited to the celebration. Because that's what this was, Nathan realized. Not a retreat, but a celebration of their successful deception. They were taking a victory lap, enjoying the fruits of their manipulation, while the husband they betrayed worked alone in his garage. Nathan had different plans for their weekend. On Friday morning, he kissed Tasha goodbye and watched her drive away in her Mercedes, the car he'd helped pay for with his construction wages. Then he loaded his truck with carefully selected equipment and headed for the ferry terminal. The cabin was isolated, accessible only by a private road that wound through dense forest. Nathan arrived before the others, using his construction skills to disable the security cameras and establish his own surveillance network around the property. He didn't plan to confront them directly. Instead, he would document everything, gathering evidence of their betrayal while they believed themselves safe and unobserved. But as Nathan watched Tasha, Camden, and Logan arrive at the cabin with 3 other couples he didn't recognize, he realized that what he was witnessing wasn't just an affair. It was a lifestyle, a community of people who treated marriage and commitment as outdated concepts to be discarded in favor of more enlightened arrangements. Tasha moved through the group like a queen holding court, regaling them with stories of her journey toward authentic love. She described Nathan as a beautiful soul who was learning to release attachment and support her growth. The group listened with rapt attention, treating Tasha like a guru of relationship enlightenment. They asked for advice about their own marriages, their own struggles with conventional love. "The key," Tasha explained, "is helping your partner understand that love isn't about ownership. It's about creating space for each person to explore their authentic desires." Nathan recorded everything from his hidden position in the forest, watching his wife teach a masterclass in manipulation, while Camden and Logan played the role of her. Enlightened lovers. But the moment that shattered his last illusion came Saturday night, when the group gathered around a fire pit for what Tasha called a gratitude circle. "I'm grateful," she said, her voice carrying across the water, "for the courage to leave behind the life that was suffocating me, for finding the strength to claim my authentic path, even when it meant hurting someone I cared about." The group murmured approval as Tasha continued. "My husband represents everything I'm moving away from. The need for security over passion, stability over growth, conventional love over true closeness. But I'm grateful for him too because he's teaching me what I don't want." Camden raised his glass. "To authentic living. To authentic living," the group echoed. Nathan felt something shift inside him as he watched them toast to his pain, his humiliation, his unwitting role in their enlightened drama. They weren't just betraying him. They were using his suffering as a foundation for their philosophy. That night, Nathan made his decision. He would give them authenticity. He would show them what real consequences looked like. Sunday morning brought fog and drizzle, perfect cover for Nathan's final preparations. The group was hungover and sluggish, moving slowly as they packed up their weekend of enlightenment. Nathan waited until they were gathered on the cabin's deck, sharing coffee and making plans for future retreats. Then he stepped out of the forest, his presence immediately commanding their attention. "Beautiful place," he said conversationally, his voice carrying clearly in the morning stillness. The reaction was immediate and electric. Tasha went pale, her coffee mug slipping from nerveless fingers. Camden looked like he might be sick. Logan, to his credit, stepped forward aggressively. "What the hell are you doing here?" Logan demanded. Nathan smiled. "Enjoying the San Juan Islands? Tasha said they were beautiful. She was right." "Nathan," Tasha said, her voice barely a whisper. "I can explain." "Can you? That would be interesting." "Because I'm having trouble understanding how a digital detox involves so much togetherness." The other guests looked confused, sensing drama but not understanding the dynamics. Camden tried to take control of the situation. "Nathan, this is a private gathering. You need to leave." "Private gathering," Nathan repeated thoughtfully. "Is that what we're calling it? And here I thought it was a wellness retreat." "Shows what I know about the industry." Logan moved closer, his hands clenched into fists. "You heard him. Get out of here before this gets ugly." Nathan looked at the MMA trainer with calm assessment. "Ugly? I thought we settled that at the gym, Logan. But if you need a reminder..." Logan's face flushed with anger and humiliation. He'd been desperate to redeem himself since their sparring session, to prove that his public defeat had been a fluke. "You sucker punched me," Logan said. "Let's see how tough you are in a real fight," Nathan shrugged. "If that's what you want." What followed wasn't really a fight. Logan came forward with all the aggression and skill that had made him a successful trainer, but he was angry and embarrassed, fighting with emotion instead of intelligence. Nathan remained calm, clinical, using the techniques Tommy had drilled into him over months of preparation. He slipped Logan's wild swings, absorbed his rushes, and systematically dismantled the bigger man's offense. The end came quickly. Logan threw a desperate haymaker that left him off balance and exposed. Nathan stepped in with a short, brutal combination that dropped the trainer to the deck, gasping and dazed. The watching group stared in shock as Nathan stood over Logan's fallen form, not even breathing hard. "Anyone else?" Nathan asked conversationally. No one moved. Camden looked like he was trying to disappear into the deck boards. Tasha seemed frozen, unable to reconcile the quiet husband she'd manipulated with the dangerous man standing before her. Nathan reached into his jacket and pulled out a tablet, swiping through files and photos with deliberate calm. "Interesting weekend," he said, showing them images from his surveillance. "Very authentic. I especially enjoyed the gratitude circle, moving stuff about growing beyond conventional love." He swiped to another file. "These are from last weekend. And this one is from 3 weeks ago. Amazing how many wellness retreats you've attended lately, Tasha." The color drained from Tasha's face as she realized the scope of Nathan's knowledge. "Nathan, please," she whispered. "Let me explain." "You already explained. Last night, actually, very clearly. You're grateful for the courage to leave behind the life that was suffocating you. I heard every word." Nathan looked around the group of shocked faces. "The thing about authentic living is that it requires honesty. About who you are, what you want, what you're willing to do to get it." He focused on Tasha. "You wanted authenticity? Here it is. I know about the hotels. I know about the lies. I know about the book proposal and the brand deals and the way you've been selling our marriage to strangers." Tasha started to speak, but Nathan held up a hand. "I also know about the shared bank accounts you've been draining to fund this lifestyle. The credit cards you've opened in my name, the investment accounts you've been liquidating without my knowledge." Camden's face went ashen. As an attorney, he understood the legal implications of what Nathan was describing. "Most importantly," Nathan continued, "I know that you think I'm too passive to do anything about it, too weak to fight back. Too conventional to understand your enlightened choices. He smiled, and there was nothing gentle about it. You were wrong. Nathan gathered his tablet and looked around the group one more time. I'd say this has been educational, but honestly, I learned everything I needed to know months ago. The rest was just documentation. He turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Tasha, you might want to check your social media when you get back to civilization. Turns out people are very interested in authentic stories about influencer culture. Nathan walked away, leaving them to process what had just happened. Behind him, he could hear Tasha starting to cry, Camden frantically making phone calls, and Logan groaning as he tried to sit up. The drive back to Seattle gave Nathan time to think about what came next. He'd exposed them, humiliated them, shown them that their sufferer was capable of fighting back. But this was just the beginning. Tasha's Instagram empire was built on trust and authenticity. Nathan was about to show her followers what authentic really looked like. Over the next week, Nathan's anonymous accounts began posting a series of carefully crafted exposés about influencer culture and the wellness industry. The posts were thoughtful, well-researched, and devastating in their precision. He didn't mention Tasha by name initially. Instead, he focused on the broader phenomenon of influencers who monetize their personal relationships, who turn private pain into public profit. But gradually, specific details began to emerge. Screenshots of public posts that contradicted private behavior, financial records showing the gap between preached values and actual spending, audio recordings of conversations where influencers mocked their followers and strategized about emotional manipulation. The wellness community was a small world, and people began connecting the dots. Tasha's name started appearing in comments and discussions. Her follower count began dropping as people questioned the authenticity of her message. Then, Nathan released the nuclear option. He'd been saving the recording from the gratitude circle, the moment when Tasha had explicitly described her marriage as something she was moving away from. He released it as part of a larger piece about the way some influencers used their personal relationships as content. The reaction was immediate and devastating. Tasha's followers felt betrayed, manipulated, lied to. The comments on her posts turned hostile. Brand partnerships began canceling. The book proposal was withdrawn. Within 72 hours, Tasha's carefully constructed empire began collapsing. Nathan watched it all from his apartment. He'd moved out the day after returning from the cabin, taking only what he needed and leaving behind a marriage that had been dead for months. Tasha tried calling, texting, showing up at his work site. But Nathan had nothing left to say to her. He'd said everything that mattered at the cabin. Camden's law firm, faced with evidence of his involvement in financial fraud and ethical violations, placed him on administrative leave pending investigation. Logan's gym lost several high-profile clients who no longer wanted to be associated with the scandal. The three people who'd betrayed Nathan's trust found themselves facing the consequences of their authentic choices. Nathan's phone rang on a Wednesday evening 2 weeks later. He was in his new apartment, a sparse but comfortable space that felt more like home than the house he'd shared with Tasha ever had. Nathan? Tasha's voice was small, defeated. Can we talk? I don't think there's anything left to say. Please. I know I hurt you. I know I was wrong, but maybe we can work through this. Maybe we can rebuild. Nathan looked out his window at the city lights below. Rebuild what, Tasha? The marriage you were grateful to be moving away from? The conventional love you outgrew? I didn't mean those things. I was trying to fit in, trying to be someone I'm not. Actually, I think you were being exactly who you are. That's what authenticity means, right? Being true to yourself? There was a long silence. What do you want from me, Nathan? What would it take to fix this? Nathan considered the question seriously. Nothing. There's nothing you can do to fix this because there's nothing left to fix. You wanted to explore authentic relationships? Congratulations, you found one. What do you mean? This is what authentic looks like, Tasha. Consequences. Real ones. When you betray someone's trust, when you mock them behind their back, when you use their pain for profit, there are consequences. But I love you, Nathan almost laughed. You love the idea of me. The supportive husband who pays the bills and doesn't ask questions. The convenient backdrop for your journey of self-discovery. But you never loved me. That's not true, isn't it? When's the last time you asked about my day and actually listened to the answer? When's the last time you touched me without wanting something? When's the last time you saw me as a person instead of a prop in your performance? Tasha couldn't answer. I'm hanging up now, Nathan said. Don't call again. Nathan, wait. He ended the call and blocked her number. There would be lawyers eventually, divorce proceedings, division of assets. But the hard part was over. The marriage was finished, and Nathan felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Relief. 3 months later, Nathan was back at Tommy's gym, working the heavy bag with focused intensity. His transformation was complete. Physically, emotionally, mentally, he'd become someone new, someone stronger, someone who couldn't be underestimated or dismissed. Looking good, Tommy said, watching Nathan work through combinations with fluid precision. You ever think about competing again? Nathan paused, considering. Maybe. I've got some things to settle first. The gym door opened, and Logan walked in. Nathan hadn't seen him since the cabin, but word had gotten around about what had happened. Logan's reputation in the MMA community had taken a serious hit. Several fighters had left his gym, sponsors had pulled support, and he was struggling to rebuild his credibility. The two men looked at each other across the gym. Logan's face showed a mixture of anger, humiliation, and something that might have been respect. Keen, Logan said finally. Logan, I heard you're training here now. That's right. Logan nodded slowly. Good gym. Tommy knows his stuff. He does. They stood there for a moment, two hunters taking each other's measure. Finally, Logan turned and walked to the locker room without another word. Nathan went back to the heavy bag, his combinations smooth and devastating. He was no longer the quiet construction worker who'd been overlooked and underestimated. He was someone new, someone harder, someone who understood that respect had to be earned and defended. 6 months after the cabin confrontation, Nathan received a text from an unknown number. When he opened it, he found a photo of Tasha working at a coffee shop, her designer clothes replaced by a uniform, her million-follower platform reduced to serving lattes to strangers. The message read, "Saw your ex-wife at work. Thought you might want to know karma is real." Nathan deleted the photo without saving it. He'd moved beyond revenge, beyond anger, beyond the need to monitor the consequences of other people's choices. Tasha's fate was her own responsibility now. He was building something new, a company, a reputation, a life that belonged entirely to him. The passive husband who'd accepted betrayal and humiliation was gone, replaced by someone who commanded respect and wouldn't tolerate being underestimated. Nathan's phone buzzed with a call from a potential client, a high-end developer who'd heard about his work and wanted to discuss a major project. As he answered the call, Nathan looked around his workshop, his space, his rules, his kingdom. Keen construction, he said, his voice carrying the quiet authority of someone who'd learned that strength didn't require noise, that power didn't require posturing. The conversation was brief and productive. Another project, another opportunity to build something lasting and valuable. Nathan hung up and returned to his work, satisfied with the direction his life had taken. Outside, Seattle's autumn rain drummed against the windows, washing the city clean. Nathan had been washed clean too, stripped of illusions and false hopes, refined by betrayal into something harder and more valuable. He thought about the man he'd been, quiet, accommodating, willing to fade into the background for the sake of peace. That man had been destroyed by the people who'd claimed to love him. But from his ashes had risen someone new, someone who understood that being underestimated was a weapon, that silence could be more devastating than screams. Nathan Keen had learned to be dangerous, and he'd learned to like it. As the rain continued to fall, Nathan worked on his latest project, a custom cabinet that would showcase both craftsmanship and strength. Like its creator, it would be built to last, designed to withstand whatever forces tried to break it. In the distance, the city hummed with the energy of millions of lives intersecting, millions of stories unfolding. Most of them would end quietly, forgotten by history. But some would leave marks, would change the people around them, would teach lessons about the cost of betrayal and the price of underestimating quiet strength. Nathan's story was one of those. It would be remembered, whispered about in gyms and coffee shops, shared as a cautionary tale about the danger of mistaking kindness for weakness. And Nathan himself? He would continue building, creating, growing stronger with each passing day. The betrayed husband was gone, replaced by something more dangerous and infinitely more valuable. A man who knew exactly what he was worth and wouldn't accept anything less. The workshop fell silent except for the sound of rain and the quiet satisfaction of work well done. Nathan Keene had found his authentic self at last, forged in betrayal and tempered by revenge. He was everything they'd never expected him to be, and he was just getting started.